Hey guys, Adam and Brian here.
Hey, how are you, man?
We are Pareto Impact Consulting. Our mission is to let small business owners know that they're not alone,
Not alone.
and to provide real solutions that work to get back lost profit and time.
That's
so
it.
today we're going to be talking about starting a business, right? Where to truly start, and we're going to differ from if you Google this term, they're going to, first step I always see is get a business license. Go to LegalZoom and start spending money, right?
Yep.
Get your business insurance going. All this stuff, right? So, Brian, what's the assumption that we're assuming that you already have in place, right? You always talk about that.
Yeah, so the one thing, but it's really important to think about this, is do you have a product or service that fulfills a need in the market, okay, or a pain?
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes you think you have an idea, I guess, and the filter is, would you or your friends, if you need, ask 10 of your best friends, hey, would you pay money for this? If the answer is no, like what you have is kind of a hobby, If the answer is yeah, oh my gosh, that would help me a lot. Okay, now you're getting somewhere. So we're starting with that assumption that you have a pretty good idea that it's not just brainstorming, and that it's fulfilling something that's not being fulfilled in some market, because sometimes it's just the narrow market close to you. But
Yeah, and so you talk about a good plumb line is to not be first in market, or is somebody else already doing this, right? Why is that important?
so oftentimes, first in market, you get all the bumps and bruises. Okay, you get all the haymakers right to the face. In short, we all do this. We learn more in our mistakes than we do in our wins. So then what happens is, if you're first to market, now I'm not saying you want to be 38th to market, but if you're first, expect it to have some growing pains. Okay.
Yeah, a lot more first to markets fail than second or third.
Yeah,
right?
second or third is the sweet spot.
Yeah,
And not far behind one, because legitimately, if you're like a month behind what they're doing, you can be like, hey, did what they do work?
yeah.
And then you go, what they did plus one, right?
Exactly. Learn from their mistakes.
Yep.
That leads us into the next part, right? So you've got a product or service. You got a pretty good idea that you could sell this thing to somebody. What do you do?
All right. So in a very big picture, we got two paths we can walk. We're talking about funding. Okay, how are we going to fund our startup idea? But it's important that we loosely identify from a top down which path we're going to walk. There's the path A is like minimal money, self-funding, kind of like the project funds itself.
Part time while you're still working your full time job.
Yep. And then the other path is, I'm going to create a loose plan of budgetary needs. We're going to talk on this in more detail in a bit, and what would get me through 2 years of operations. Okay. Then with that 2-year operational need defined, you can actually start looking, when you're ready, at what funding could meet that need. Now, of the two, the second one is the way more successful way to do business if you have the option. And if you just think it through, slow down a little bit and think it through, it's because you actually have the capital to do the right moves, instead of, oh, I'm tied, my hands are tied behind my back, and you're duct taping things together almost.
Yeah, you're able to give your full energy, full commitment to the success.
Execute the best solution instead of the one you can afford.
Good. So you've got an idea on funding. Where are you going next?
So I think next, and this is a big one that people really need to get ahead of, is their vision. Okay, I don't overthink this when it comes to operations for small businesses, small business owners. I came across, it's called the EOS system by Gino Wickman, and the whole series of books, but it's the Entrepreneurial Operating System, and it's a really bare bones, thin, lean and mean way to run your business with, it's fantastic. So I use them as a starting point. The book Traction is fantastic, walks you through the EOS system.
That's something that you you always kind of hand out as your first gift with a client.
Yeah, usually if I'm working out in the field on a big project, day one I come in, I sign, a copy of the book and I hand it to them and I go, here, man, we're going to go through a chapter a week. Chapter 1 is letting go of the vine. We'll talk about that briefly a little bit too. But it's so vision, all right? So it's important that when you're creating a business, you don't want the business to be you, okay? You can't replicate you. If it's you, you're involved in everything.
That's a job.
Yeah,
That's a gig.
and this is a worse job because, like,
Mhm.
if you had a job and you went on vacation, the business is still there when you came back, right? If you are the business and you go on vacation for a month and you come back,
You can't. You don't make any money.
hey,
No paid time off.
like, whoa, right? So, but you don't want it, and we're gonna prevent that from happening now. So, before we get to the vision, what you need to do is establish some values. This is super important. So you're going to create the value system that is important to you. If it's partners, like for you and I, Adam, we created that together. And something that an acquaintance of ours, Mick, kind of added, which I really like this spice, is once you got those loose values, it could be 3, could be 5. Don't go too crazy. But these are the what's important to us. Okay, what are we willing to do and not do? What's important to us? And then create statements out of it. Okay, the honesty is the good one that we kind of talked over with Mick. And honesty. If I just said honesty is our value, it doesn't give you any context. Okay.
Yeah. So our value statement is speak openly and transparently with our client's best intentions.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
And so that's a value statement.
Bam. So now we can see, at least with a lot more clarity, what honesty looks like.
Defined it.
Oh man. Okay. Now we have our values defined in our value statements, and then we take that, and through that lens we create our vision. And loosely, I like saying it in terms of a 10-year vision, and that aligns with the EOS system. But it's really about just creating a path forward. Because maybe you get there in 8 years, maybe you get there in 15 years, but you have to decide where you're headed towards. Or else how can you decide which decisions to make?
Yeah.
Here's one that we've talked about, for ourselves. Like, we want to have a call center at some point, working either probably, in-house, right? Call resources. So as we build up things, we're going to be like, well, how would a call center fit into that? Or a call resources might be a more loose term right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's like, yeah, well, does that help get us closer to that or further away? Oh, I didn't think about that. And now all of a sudden you're making it through, you got the lens of values, but now you also have your destination in mind.
So
right?
Vision is destination.
Yep.
And so when you're
Good summary.
when you're doing vision building with EOS, and the way that you always do it with our clients is you start backwards. So you start at the 10 years out,
Far away.
5-year, 3-year, 1 year, 6 months,
Yeah. 90
Next
days.
month.
Yep.
tomorrow.
And then everything within, I'm getting a little ahead here, but everything within that like year to tomorrow is, mud in the blood, right? That's what are we really doing? What are we getting done today? What are we getting done this week? What are we getting done this month? And did it align and get us closer to our goal,
Exactly.
our destination?
So then, so vision is the destination, the goal. Mission is how we're going to get there, right?
Yeah.
And so build a mission statement, which is how we're going to get there. And one of the keys, the first thing that walking into a client, you ask the owner, "What's your vision?" Right? And then he's able to answer that beautifully, succinctly. It's dynamite, right? And that's a great vision, right? Or they're not. But imagine they are. What's the next thing that you do?
Now let me pause for anyone watching out there. What do you wish?
Let's really pause because we're gonna have to cut it.
chair.
So let's pause it there. Great pause. Now we're back.
What are we talking about?
So vision. And I said, all right, so we'll ask you again.
Yeah, so I was specifically, if you're out there watching, think in your minds of kind of our presentation. Would you, if you had that magic, would you create a scenario where you knew your vision and values, or do you fall into that other category? And if you do fall in that other category, you kind of see the path to do some work, right?
There's a solution.
Yeah, you shouldn't be in that category.
Go write it down.
Yeah.
Just
And
do the work.
where I find so much is, remember, it's not about in your mind. You're not making a person, you're making a business. And we're gonna have another video about this, creating the perfect machine, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not about in your head. It can't be in your head.
Yeah.
Now we want to take it out of your head simply, concisely, true, but keeping it in your head isn't an option.
Yeah. So you ask the owner, what's your vision? They tell you. You say, great, where's it written down?
Yeah.
And then you go and ask somebody else, right?
Yeah.
What do you do?
And then I go, hey, Frank, hey, do you know what the company values are? And if they say no, well, what's the point of having a company full of values if nobody knows what they are?
Yeah. So you're an HVAC company, and your vision is in 10 years to be the largest HVAC company in the Lehigh Valley and with the highest customer service rating.
Yep.
Boom, done. That's your vision. 10 years, 2 goals. You need every single person to be able to answer that.
Yeah, and see how the mission brings it all together, right? Because you conveniently threw the mission in there last, like it should be. Is how we're going to do that. We're going to provide, maybe timely and excellent service with, a no questions asked 90-day refund to all of our clients' wise to make sure they have an exceptional experience.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that,
Yeah. And so you go and you ask everybody. You ask from the top down, what's the vision, right?
Yep.
And what's that to measure?
So I don't know. Maybe I always picture like a ship, right? You got oarsmen on a ship. So we're creating this machine, and we need everybody rowing in the same direction. And the first part is they need to know what the direction is, and then of course how to use the oars, right? So their oars might be their little tasks, but if you can show them how does it build towards the direction you need the ship going, all those complaints go away. They're like, oh yeah, this is important. What I'm doing is helping the team and helping, that's literally what their job is.
And feedback and correction becomes much easier as well.
Absolutely.
Does this align with our vision?
Yep.
Are you laser focused? No, it's all
Yeah.
corrective action is based on that path.
And I got to tell you, Adam, with the percentage is so high. I don't know, working with 100 businesses, I don't know. And I have probably seen good vision. Actually, it might even be close to zero. I've seen a couple people who had a really good vision in their head, but most not even that. But if I'm like, yeah, but where can Adam find this? Because what if you call off sick today and I'm not sure how to run the shop? Where do I see it? It's like internal branding, right? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
Here's what we represent.
Yeah. So great. You have the laser focus on vision. You're ready to get moving. Now it's time to look at your market, right? And your price and how you're going to essentially, how are you going to sell the product, right?
Yeah,
How do you sell it?
slow down a little bit, because at some point you kind of hit that point of no return, right? So this is kind of rapidly approaching that. So we've got an idea of a product or service. We got an idea of our market. And at this point, we want to kind of take a deeper dive and really make sure that our thought, basically we're doing some research, okay? If you're doing a business plan, we kind of skipped over that a little bit. So through all this, tying it into the funding component, there is two ways to really do a business plan.
And if you're getting funding, you're doing a business plan.
Yeah.
No ifs, ands, or buts.
And you
about it.
want a business plan
Yeah.
either way. But if you're going for funding, which remember was option like 2, path 2,
Mhm.
but it was also the more successful of the options. So if you had carte blanche, you would do it that way. Then you need a extremely well polished business plan, because that's what's going to make the difference.
Non-negotiable.
Okay, so if you're doing it internally, it can be a little bit more lean and mean, but the value of it is still there. Like you go out and you do market research. Why? Because you're probably never, you and I talk about this a lot, where you bring up an example where like the college.
Yeah, so business plan is like a college essay. You got your dream school. You know where you want to go. This is going to determine your future, right?
Yeah.
So you put your heart and soul into this college essay in hopes to get into the school, right? Same thing with the business plan. You're building this business plan. You're putting your heart and soul into it to get the funding, to get what you need to start and move forward with your business. Then after that, you're never looking at your college essay again. You forgot. You guys probably forgot you even wrote one if you did. If you got kids going into high school, you're thinking about that now, but you would never even think about it. Same with a business plan. Probably not going to directly reference it, but you've internalized enough that knowledge that you
And a little bit different with a business plan, you've built actually some of your fundamental concepts and maybe even infrastructure around it.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things you would do is come up with a cash flow statement, right? If you're using that 2-year budget, if you give me $200,000, how am I going to spend it, right? And you're literally creating a flow of cash of what's going to go out, and then and then you'll have like a market revenue coming in and the ramp up period in there, right? And then you'll be able to show that all flow in a snapshot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's pretty useful, So if I put myself on a salary of $30,000 the first 2 years, which is low, but maybe there's a commission component or something like that. Okay, then that first payroll period, guess what I cut myself at? Whatever the pro rate, depending on my pay period, of $30,000 is, not 60. Why? Because I have a plan.
Yeah.
So you're following the plan. Some other big ones that have really helped me over the years, just seeing your market, how big is your market, demographic, layout and spread, things I wouldn't have necessarily thought through. I can think back to like my first business. I didn't think that. Like I was like, I don't know, we'll just sell this stuff. Well, how many people are in a 2-mile radius that would buy that?
Yeah,
wow, I didn't think about that.
That's your price, right? Price is heavily dictated on how much you're going to sell in a given time frame. In fact, that is how you calculate price.
Right, and then you and if you're like, so every industry is a little bit different here, but like people will travel further for certain things and won't travel far for other things.
Destination stores.
Think about convenience stores, why they exist.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh man, it forces you down that rabbit hole and you're thinking through some of that stuff, okay? And if you're going for funding, it needs to be really well thought out, okay?
So your business plan, so now you're going to kind of, you took a deep dive into your customer, right? You defined who your ideal client is. Who is that, right? And then you're going to say, okay, how do I let them know what my that my product can solve their pain or that problem, right?
I want to chime in here.
Yeah.
This is loosely attached to everything we're talking about, but somewhere around here, we're probably ready to go out and get some help. Okay, there are so many resources out there to help startups. Okay, here in the Lehigh Valley, so SCORE is affiliated through the Lehigh Valley.
Yeah, you're actually a mentor for SCORE for.
So you could just come to
startups.
SCORE and say, hey, I want free counseling once a month.
Help me make my business plan.
Dude, we've got a beautiful rubric, and I'll walk people through it.
SCORE is actually like if you're looking for a business plan template, SCORE is the plumb line.
Once again, here in the Lehigh Valley, small business up at Lehigh, all the colleges have something, okay,
like
even if it's not well developed. So there's resources out there, Chamber of Commerce.
Economic Development Council or some kind of nonprofit. Everybody's got one of those.
Your state. Now, they're not going to necessarily have or at least I haven't seen a ton of resources, but they do have help. So you go there, PA is where we're at, and you go to PA, type in startup, and it'll just give you a checklist. 25, and it's beautiful. It's like call so and so, get tax ID, boom, 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 boom. So this is a good time just to think about that. You don't want to be doing this stuff alone. The biggest challenges, counting is a great one that pops in mind. If I don't know how to do books, if I don't know how to do my taxes, I don't muddle through TurboTax. I go pay an accountant. Okay? Same thing. If you are at a spot where you really don't have the business acumen yet, and I say yet because you're going to learn, go talk to experts. Because they're there, and there's plenty of free resources out there. Okay? Obviously the best ones. We wouldn't be in business if everything was free, but I volunteer my time. Through SCORE. So.
Yeah. So. Essentially, that business plan is going to help you build out you're going to use your cash flow for price,
Yep.
loosely determined price. You know how you're going to get your message out, right? It's not about how am I going to get it out, but it's how can they receive it best.
Yeah.
And
who's going to receive?
Yeah, exactly, because that really matters, right?
That ICP, right? Ideal client profile. Who's going to buy my thing? Okay.
It's not just social media, right?
Right.
It's TikTok versus LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Depends on who your market is.
Yep.
All right, so you did that, right? We did this stuff.
I want to splash another one a little further on pricing. Okay. We have a deep dive and we have another video. We'll link it down below about pricing specifically. But one of the things that we love talking about is profit engineering. Price should not be an accident. It should be a deterministic effect of your cost of goods, your fixed expenses, your desired target and vision, right? Okay, and that should give you your price. Now, if you're way out of line, okay, then it's giving you a roadmap of what to fix and what to work on and where but it shouldn't be an accident. Now that we've created our budget and our cash flow statement for our business plan and for our funding, okay, we can actually do that and we can accurately set price.
So this is a common pitfall we see business owners, especially startups, get into, right? How are most business owners setting or establishing their price?
What they usually do is they mentally think, I need to be at or lower than my competitor. The gut reaction is lower, okay? And then what they're really kind of doing is they're making price the determining selection factor, okay? And for anyone who thinks out there, there's a little bit of psychology here, but there's also just market training us, right? What's the cheapest thing?
Yeah.
It's the Walmart. It's the worst thing. Might not be garbage, but it's the worst thing.
It's pretty close.
It's the dollar store.
It's not the best.
Why don't you go to the dollar store, for your suit? Yeah, because it's not the best.
Yeah.
Okay. Now there's a place for that, but I would honestly say for small business owners, you should not be the cheapest because you cannot compete with the leverage of like a Walmart. Like their profit percentage is lower than a lot of other, stores because they're so big that 5% on $1 trillion is still a lot of profit.
Well, yeah, and so pitfalls with pricing. We literally have an entire video just on the math of pricing, right? But one, you do not set your price to your competitor because you don't know if they're pricing correctly.
Yep.
Right. You need to set your cost to your expenses, right? So price. Most people are establishing price, and they're coming to their profit number by at the end of the month. They see what they have left over.
What's left?
Yeah, and that's not.
You're absolutely right, Adam.
How we need to do that. We need to say no. Profit is built in to the price, and our costs are built in. It's actually a formula that you just go check out the other video, please. And so, right. So price. We're not even done beating price to a dead horse, but we're gonna move on because you don't have any data right now. You don't know if your budget's real. You don't know if people are gonna pay the price, right? You don't know anything yet. So what do you got to do, Brian?
It's this simple. Start selling.
Get the data.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. So it's not time to buy a desk. It's not time to buy 3 monitors. It's not time to up your insurance or
to rent office space for your secretary that you don't have.
It's time to get in the mud and the blood and start selling it. One of the most beautiful things about selling it is it takes your idea and it makes it not an idea, and you start seeing and exposing it to your customers, okay? As you're exposing it to your customers, each one of their decisions is giving you real information. So before it was all, I think this, I think that, I think this is my ideal person. I think they would buy it at this price, right? They all may be brilliant thoughts.
But they're just thoughts.
Exactly. So now what you're getting is the data to tell you whether you were on target, whether you're off target, and by how much, okay? And the more data you get, the more accurate it is, law of large numbers and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the most beautiful parts here is they'll also tell you where to go. Okay, you know, let's say we I think sent out 1,000 direct mailers, right? If I can get some feedback, okay, I can know, did I miss on price? Did I miss on value? Did I miss on message? Did I miss on timing? Okay, or I can get pieces of all those puzzles, or did I nail it?
Yeah.
Man, I got 900, sales out
I'm
of
gonna
that.
raise my price.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's it. Start selling. So, if in a perfect startup, how long would all the steps before sell it take? What's a time frame there in a perfect world?
So, great question, Adam. I think it flows like this. As long as you're not paying money, you can go as slow as possible. But at the end of the day, if you're dragging your feet, just understand the concept of motivation and traction and tempo. Optimally, the second you start spending $1, as fast as possible. Okay? If you're doing this with funding, the second that check arrives, okay, boom, we're going.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's always revenue over time. People forget that. Like, I made $1 million in what? A day? That's phenomenal. A month? Still pretty good. A year? All right. You're not small potatoes. 25 years? Oh, how did you keep the doors open?
Yeah.
So you can't forget the time component. And when the expenses are ticking, when that internet bill's hitting every month, you got to start making revenue.
Yeah. Absolutely. So as soon as feasibly possible,
Yep.
right? But definitely as soon as that first dollar's spent, you're
Yeah.
moving forward.
From a
selling.
motivation and tempo